So now you should have 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to start with our skin tone, and we're going to make sure we have it doubled up so the end that we cinched right off the machine is pulled up into the center of the end that we started at. And I'm going to start slowly pulling on the other end, just kind of gently pulling them both up so that they meet, and kind of uncurling any of the edge that wants to curl so that it's not kind of flipped out. So once they're both pulled up adequately and pulled tight, then you want to take your ends and tie them tightly. And this is going to be on the inside, so don't worry about it looking pretty, it just needs to hold. So the shorter end we're going to snip off. Or you don't have to snip it off, it'll just be inside. And then we're going to keep the longer end and flip it inside out so that that knot is neatly tucked in to our shape. Then I'm going to go around so there's probably more than 2 ways, but 2 ways I know how to do this. One, you can go into just one side of the V as you go around the edge, because we're going to cinch this up as well, or you can go into both sides. If you go into both sides, you'll be picking up the whole stitch rather than half a stitch, but it doesn't matter as long as you get everything. It's a little less bulky if you just pick up one of the stitches, so that's why I'll do that. And I'm just taking the one from the inside. Don't pull too tight on this because we don't want it to pull the tension from there. So just start anywhere. Usually I do this with a sharp needle, but I can't find. Well, I know it's in the other room, but I'm too lazy to go get it. And you can pull it through as you're going, like clusters, but I would caution you from pulling it way too tight because otherwise you'll kind of lose where you started and you'll just go around forever. As someone was watching said, and I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. I like to do this before stuffing rather than once stuffing's in it because it's a little bit harder to control, but we're not going to cinch it until we stuff it. So now that we have that, we've pulled everything relatively tight, so it's smooth here and just that thread is in there. And so now I'm going to start stuffing. Now you're going to need probably more than you expect to need, but not a ton, if that makes sense. So I'll try to measure it in my handfuls, and I like to spread it out before I put it in there because I find it's a lot smoother than if you just chunk a bunch in there. So it gets compressed in the bag, and then you kind of uncompress it, and then you decompress it, and then you recompress it. So just doing this really helps break it up. So that's about 2 of my handfuls, and I feel like that's usually good. Sometimes at the very end I'll add more, depends. Okay, and now you're going to take that loose end. You're going to start pulling that, making sure that you're not pulling too tightly on that inner part of the thread. So you're going to start closing up that cinched hole. And then you're going to sew kind of in and out one way, in and out the other way. So you're just going to go back and forth. I like to do about 3 times. You want to kind of try to keep this relatively smooth, and so that the focus is on this and not the cinched ends, because that's not really what we're focusing on. Sometimes I go over the cinched area just to pull it all together. It's totally up to you. However you want to sew it, probably better than I could ever dream of. Just try to get it as smooth as possible. So not my best seam job, but I'm not here for my sewing skills, let's be honest. Okay, so this needle sucks, but I mean it has a purpose for thicker yarn. So I've sewn this pretty much to death. So now I'm going to pull it really tight and snip it as close to the exit as possible so that it is nice and flush, like that. So again, look up, we're going to designate this as the top, or maybe, yeah, we're going to do it. We're not going to do that. So we're going to do all the parts that we put on our machine first, and then we're going to go ahead and put the hair on last. So now you are done with that. You want to make sure that your knots and everything are well concealed. Now we're going to go into the second tube that we made, that we pulled the end through. So this is going to be our outer labia. I like to do this, if I'm doing 2 shades of pink, I choose the darker of the 2 pinks for the outer labia and for the clitoris, and then this for the lighter color for the inner labia, but you can do it however you want. So we're going to do the same thing where we turn it inside out, make sure it's all curled, right direction. Sometimes as you do that, that inside will fall, so you kind of have to finagle it with your fingers. Okay, so we're going to go in and retie this, make sure both of them are pulled up, pulled taut. And you can make a lot of stylistic choices here, but I'm just doing whatever I want, because it's my channel. Do it your own way if you have a better way to do it. I do not care. So this time I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to show you that you don't have to cut it. So the shorter end is going to be shoved in there. And then this one we are not stuffing. Found that you don't really need it. To make the job a little easier on myself, I'm just gonna use a crochet hook to actually pull these through. Again, making sure you don't pull that inner one too much. Pull that through. Keep it pretty loosey-goosey on the inside there. So you can really use a needle or a crochet hook, whatever you're more comfortable with, whatever gives you the look that you want the most. Nobody cares. So I almost missed switch stitch there, so that could have been bad. Although it's folded, so it wouldn't have been the worst, but it could mean a loss of, well, there's no stuffing inside this. Never mind. Probably wouldn't have been that bad. We're thorough here, people. We're thorough. Pull down this end. So now that we're all the way around, we're going to pinch this tight, pull this seam closed, and then we're going to just kind of randomly pull it through a couple different spots to secure that cinch. And try to kind of keep everything in like an oval-y shape. That's kind of what we're going to go for, and we're also going to sew it like that. So if it's got kind of some corners, we'll kind of make sure that those aren't as noticeable. Okay, so I'm going to pull through here. And then we're going to pull tight and snip so that the end just kind of falls in there. So this is going to be our outer labia. It's going to go on here like that. And then this is our inner labia. So we're going to move to the light color now. So really, it's pretty simple. You're going to cinch it, but you're going to kind of have it just, you're just going to cinch both ends. Make sure there's no curling. And it really just looks like that. Like it's just that simple. It kind of works itself out. And then the next one, this one is a little bit kind of like pick your own adventure type of thing. So you're going to pull both ends and get it kind of into a little This is more just like kind of finessing it into the shape you want. So because it's just a teeny tiny little thing, it kind of just makes the shape that you wanted to, which is why it was only 6 rows. You can do the inside or the outside of this, whatever you prefer. I just like it looking consistent. So if I've got the knit side out on everything else, I want to have the knit side out on this, which is a preference. But. Okay, so now we're going to start sewing everything together. You could try to do this all at once, but I know I'm not good enough for that. I probably should have left this string on here so I could have sewn it, but whatever. I'm just going to take a hook. Okay, so now I'm going to go from the bottom, and I'm just going to weave my hook inside, like back and forth through a middle stitch. And then pull it through the whole center. Okay, so making sure that the better end is up. And then I'm gonna go about 5 stitches down from the top of the cinch skin tone, so that will put it kind of right in the middle. So I'm going to take that little loose end that we pulled through initially, and I'm going to use that to tie the top of the outer labia. Okay, so see we have some ends coming out, which I do not approve of, and I'm very offended. Okay, and so with this shorter end, I'm going to weave that under the and then tie another knot just to keep it really secure. I don't want this falling apart on anybody. And you can really do so many colors for this because the anatomy is so, you know, it changes in pigmentation and everything so much person to person. So you can really have fun with this, personalize it to however you want, and have fun. Now, is this like super anatomically correct? No, I would not use this for like serious education. Maybe this is like step 1 in education about what these body parts look like, but I would not. This is not. But I have seen people do like realistic models of kind of like the clitoris and the vagina and whatnot, and so you can crochet those for sure. And I'm just hiding my end right inside the plushie. Okay, so now I'm gonna line up the top. I'm gonna pull that extra thread, and I'm gonna make sure it goes all the way to the very bottom and kind of through the bottom, just so it looks a little bit neater. I'm kind of making this all up if you haven't noticed. So once you have that, if you pull just a little tightly, you'll start to get a little fold in it, and you'll start to get some quote-unquote natural shape to it. And then you're going to sew this end about 5 stitches up from the bottom. And if you need to have it pulled a little bit down just so you can get that more ovular shape, then you can definitely do that. I did not quite mean to do what I just did, but we're just going to pretend like I didn't do that. Okay. There we go. Okay. I undid it, so apparently it wasn't important. Okay, so I pulled it through part of the skin tone. You can redistribute the lips. So I'm going to tie a knot right there, just one single knot, just to kind of give it some hold while we for some reason my brain's not able to create a knot tonight. Okay, so just one knot. Finally got that. And then you're pretty much going to want to just secure it to the skin tone as much as you can. So you can take this and fold it in half, and you can take that tied strand and you can start you can hide it under that outer labia. Making sure not to, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be visible, but, you know, I try not to go through multiple layers of the work just because it can distort how things look and shit, so I'm attaching both the outer labia and the skin tone. You can even go up and connect it to the top of the outer labia and reconnect that to the skin tone just to really have it be secure. Just, you know, hide your runs and make sure it's on there good. And then eventually, once you get to a point where you feel like it's secure and you can hide a knot good, you can go in and tie a knot. And then you're going to want to like do a pretty secure little knot, even though you've sewn it in quite a bit. But I just like to be sure. I hate the idea of making something and having it fall apart once I hand it over, you know? Okay, so this is step 1. And then now we're going to take our lighter pink. And what you're going to do is you're going to set that right inside. And you are just going to sew the ends down. You can even sew them directly into the skin tone, or you can sew them into the outer labia, whatever you prefer. But the length of this, which was 15 rows, is half of the 30 that we did for this. So it was designed like that. I did that on purpose this time. And you just want to make sure it's cinched closed pretty well. Like I said, you don't have to cinch it till it's circular. You can just cinch it straight across, and that's good enough, because it doesn't need to be rounded out. But if you would like to do that, I guess you can, whatever. Now, with any panel, it's going to have a tendency to curl, just because, unless you change it, like, fundamentally, like you do ribbing or something like that. But they're all going to curl, because that's what the stitch does. So when you which I think adds to it, but once you do the clit, it'll open up around that shape. So I'm not pulling it too tight, because you can tighten it up too much and kind of close it up, but again, it'll open back up. So just have fun. Just have fun with this. I'm going to take these two ends, and on either side, I'm going to sew the outer labia down a little bit, just because I kind of want it to look like that. Like I said, just everything is like super individualized. For some reason, I got hung up on this skin tone yarn. Now it's like giving me a hard time, which I find quite rude. Must have gotten in the yarn. So that'll just help it stay down a little bit better. It won't flare too much in the middle. And then I'm just going to take that down all the way to the bottom and hide my stitch under the bottom of the outer labia. Just find good spots for hiding. And then we're going to do the other side. So just tie, 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 hide, 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 you know. Alright, so now we have this going on. And you can see it's curled up quite a bit, but you can uncurl it and it'll open just fine. And the area on the top, this is where we'll put our hair. If you want to have hair, for me, the hair helps it be a little bit more recognizable for what it is. But, you know, if you want hairless, that's, you know, your stuffy, your choice. So if this shaped up pretty similar to mine, you can just go ahead and tie it like it is. Now, I find if you just took these 2 points in, it kind of just wiggles around too much, and I like my pieces to be a little bit more secure. So I'll go in with my hook, and I'll take one hook on one side, or one, bit on one side and one on the other. And then that makes it a little bit more secure to sew in. Okay, and then we're gonna go in here. Feel free to experiment with different textures of yarn, with different colors. I mean, like I said, there's so many different ways this body part can end up looking that you just want to, have some fun and take some liberties and go nuts. I'm going to take this through. Tie that under. Move this down. Okay, and then we're gonna pull it too tight, or it'll kind of look a little weird, but then we're just gonna tie it on, a couple ties, and then we're gonna weave in some ends, just so we don't have too many just floating knots ready to be ripped out, Okay, and then we're just gonna snip, snip, and pull, snip, snip. Try not to nick your yarn that is in your piece. So this is what it looks like without hair. Now, if you want to add hair, feel free. I will show you how I've been adding my hair. There's many ways to do fringe and stuff like that. So for me, I'm gonna take, sorry, machine over this color. So I'm going to take this gray color, and it's silvery, which I think looks cool. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do a little slip knot. Put on your hook. And with whenever you're using a knitting machine, you can usually use any size hook from like a 3.5 to like a 5.5. It just depends on how you want things to look. I like to start at the part closest to everything we've sewn on. And then I'll go maybe 2 rows up from where I started that, and then I will go through, pull my yarn through. This is not working because this is splitting pretty bad. Okay, try it again. So you want to do a slip knot. You want to pull to your desired height. So, so this is probably going to create something a little less than like 2 centimeters long. So you want to kind of pull it. I try to pull it like generally about the size of my hook handle, just so you can have a point of reference. So you can kind of keep the hair length the same. Do some rotations of your hook so that the yarn is all twisted up. And then I go into another spot right next to it and do another slip knot. And then you have this like twisted up yarn, and if you pull it out and let it kind of retwist, it'll retwist in the same, like in a hair like fashion. Now there's like cuter, I mean, you can do it however you want. So I'm just gonna, that didn't say like I wanted it to. Go to the same spot and do a slip stitch because that did not work out like I wanted to. The first one's always the hardest because you're trying to control all these loose ends here. Because I pulled the knot through. There we go. Okay. Just gonna tie that. Now, if you make one or two that don't look good, what you can always do is just do what I do and cover it with another one. So once you have that on your hook, it's about the length of your hook. The more spins, the tighter your curl is going to be, but you can also overdo it and have it just kind of ball up on you. So there's like a formula that, you know, if you look up like twisted fringe or whatever, like people kind of give off, where it's like for each inch you do this many spins or whatever, and that can be helpful, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And I don't count how many spins I do. And again, sometimes the hair will just be kind of like weird, and you just pull it back up, and it will kind of reorient itself in the twist, or you can kind of help it along its way. And then, so I kind of go, I'm at the bottom point, and I kind of go to the side and kind of like typewriter it, or not typewriter, but just like snake it like this. And you can add as much or as little as you desire. I just kind of go till my gut says stop, and then that's it. Or I'm tired of making it. But usually these are so fast. They're all winners. I do try to make it at least like kind of even on each side so it looks, I don't know, I just think symmetry looks nice, but do whatever you want. You can also go down like onto the labia, like outer labia, like however you want to do it, you're welcome to do it. I just didn't do all that work to have it covered, so. And plus, I feel like this is just enough hair where people are like, yeah, but not like, man, I don't know. This is what I want it to look like, so I did it like this. Do it however you want. Again, just don't care. Okay, so I'm going to cut about 8 inches, and I'm going to do another slip to secure that end right there. I'm just going to kind of tie everything up. And I usually start at the bottom because that's where I end, and all the other hair kind of covers it. So you can usually just cut these off. You can hold them into like the center of the little patch of hair, but I usually don't care enough to do that. But I'll show you what it looks like just so you can see it, I guess. I don't know. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little snip. Make sure you don't cut your twist. Doesn't have to look perfect, doesn't have to look neat, doesn't have to look kempt. Like, it's totally fine however you want it to look. So, like, if I wanted to spend more time showing you, I might put a little more hair down here, but this is how the end result looks. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this, and if you didn't, okay, so later.